Hello, hello, hello. Hope everybody had a good weekend and having a good week so far. We're gonna get rolling here fairly shortly. I have a lot of stuff that we got to talk about and take a look at today. So for the most part, we're gonna speed through the covers of like the big publishers that everybody typically knows, and then once we get into the more of the indie style of books for everybody that had met over at EDPcon, hype the boys up a little bit and get their work out there and share it off to you guys. Excuse me. All right, so like I said, hope everybody's had a good week so far. I had an absolutely amazing weekend in Pittsburgh. I drove out there. Well, let's say it was Thursday morning. It was just a little over 12-hour drive. My girlfriend and I had gone out there, and it was a haul. But once we got there, the very first day that we were in town, of course, I wanted to go straight to the comic shops and start digging, and it's exactly what I did. I walked into Ides. I was there for all of 5 minutes, and Gem MAHFOOD, Michelle Fife, and West Coast Dave all come walking into the shop, and I didn't realize him. My girlfriend had seen him because I had my back turned, just head down digging, and she's like, "I think that's Dave and Jim behind you." And I turned around, and both of them had their heads down digging, and I like slammed my hands down on the long boxes, and Dave and Jim both were like, "Ah!" And they kind of jumped. Scared the shit out of them, but yeah, that was I was there for not even 5 minutes and already ran into Jim and Dave. Super good dudes. I got to hang out with them a bunch over the weekend, way more than I probably should have, but hey, can't complain. MAHFOOD's a good ass dude, and so is Dave. Dave's a good buddy of mine, and Jim's given me tons of advice over the last year, especially when I had seen him in person. The dude was just talking my fucking ear off, so big shout out to MAHFOOD. I have plenty of stuff that we're going to be showing off that I picked up from him, including some original art. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start getting into the rigmarole, and then we're going to start taking a look at some of the comics that I picked up over the weekend. All right, first things first, White Line Deadline is up on Kickstarter. The link is currently in the description, or sorry, the link is currently in the chat. I went through and overhauled everything that's on here, so I redid my cover. We have the cover from Brandon Paul, the variant B. And then as well today, I just added Russell Brown's variant cover D. I'm still waiting on the variant cover from David. And then as well, here's just a quick little preview for some of the pages that I have into the book. If you're into black and white outlaw goodness, this is what it is. As you can see, this is about coke trafficking. So that's, if you guys are into coke trafficking, this is the book for you, is basically what I gotta say there. I'm currently in the process of overhauling my website. So far I have the store basically completely overhauled. I have payment system set up, PayPal set up, all that stuff is good to go now. Over the weekend, I'm going to be snapping pictures of things that more things I'm going to be putting up onto the site and selling. So if you were at the con, the things I rolled out at the con, so the micron holders, the guides, the stencils, basically any of the cartooning tools that I had made for other cartoonists, that stuff will be going up onto the site and will be available for purchase there. So let's go ahead, and I have a fat stack. I'm not even joking. I probably have 50 plus books sitting here. So we're gonna speed through the main covers of like the bigger publishers, and once we get into the indie stuff, we're gonna slow down a little bit, talk the boys up, and I'm gonna, after the video is done, I'm gonna get everybody tagged into the comments and into the description, try to get their socials up. So if you guys are watching this on a replay and you saw that I missed anybody, or if maybe I had seen that I missed your social medias, feel free to stick them into the comments so people can find you. All right. So the first thing that we're going to be looking at here, number 24, Archie Turtles. Love the Archie Turtles stuff, so I just continuously just keep buying these issues. They're really hard to find in this area, but when I was out in Pittsburgh, like, they literally had everything. Pittsburgh is by far the best comics town I've ever been to in my entire life. I've been San Francisco, LA, Phoenix, Chicago, you know, you name it, and just nobody touches Pittsburgh as a comic city. It's actually insane, just the amount of shops that are there, and then the quality of the shops as well are just super high. Like, Ides, where I picked this up from, if you guys saw the short that I put up earlier in the week, they don't allow filming in there, which I was kind of bummed about. And even in my clip, I'm walking in with the camera, and I'm like, hey, is it cool if I film in here? And the dude was like, absolutely not, put the camera away. And I have that recorded. So at some point I might share that because I think it's kind of funny. But it's literally 4 floors. So the bottom floor, like down in the basement, it's kind of where all their back issues are that you would find like this, that are bagged and boarded and more organized. Middle floor, it's nothing but like dollar bin stuff. It's unorganized, so it's literally just like you dig and dig and dig and dig and never know what you're gonna find because none of it's alphabetized, none of it's broken down by publisher. It's literally just scattered everywhere. Third and fourth floors are like undergrounds, and they also have like a record shop in there, so they sell cassettes, CDs, records, so on and so forth. There was a really cool shop, and the dude that worked down in the basement, I can't remember what his name is, but he hooked me up with a bunch of free comics once he found out I was part of the con. Like I said, West Coast Dave, Jim was there, Michelle was there, and then Dan from Stand Up Records was also there hanging out with us, so got to dig for a couple hours with those guys. And then, of course, got a Zap #0. I have a bunch of Zap comics, but I have yet to own the very first issue, so I finally was able to get a hold of this. Of course, classic R. Crumb cover. Cannot go wrong here. This is probably his most iconic cover he's ever done, I would suspect. My mentor, some love here. Good old Sean Crystal from Ink Pulp. He had worked on Mother Panic for a little while there, and this was one of the first issues that he had done, if not the very first issue they had done on Mother Panic. So shout out to Sean Crystal, Jim MAHFOOD, and Mateo Scalera over the Ink Pulp crew, and of course Jazzy Jamie, the producer. We got Savage Dragon meets Martial Law 1 and 2. So Martial Law is a badass book. It's something that kind of goes off a lot of people's radars. It's definitely like the dollar bin special, and that's really the place that you find it. Best way I can describe it, it's basically like the Americanized version of Judge Dredd. That's the way that I look at it. Super dark, gritty, just off the wall shit. So if you're into Judge Dredd, I would definitely recommend to pick up Martial Law. It's a great book. I have had a chance to read over the Savage Dragon crossover, so I'm kind of excited to actually get into this and see what happens. All right, Sergeant Rock 339, Joe Kubert goodness. I went through the Joe Kubert correspondence course, so I have a lot of Joe Kubert stuff in my DNA, and the reason why I love Joe Kubert so much is because he's very unorthodox in the way that he draws, and especially the way that he teaches comics and cartoons. So it's like right up my alley that he kind of goes up against the grain, especially a dude at this time. He is inking, penciling, and coloring basically all of it by himself, and also writing for some of it, which was like basically unheard of at this time, right? Like typically there's a big team of people working on comics, and even still to this day it's that way. And he kind of broke the mold on that, so you got to give a shout out to our boy Joe Kubert. All right, Dark Horse presents 100 and the Dark Horse Annual 20. These are some early Dark Horse stuff. Typically, if you're familiar with the Dark Horse Presents stuff, this is going to be like the earlier Dark Horse logo, and then this kind of layout is going to be like the more original style. They have like the circle pictures going on the cover, so that way you know it's an earlier issue. And then as well, you can kind of see here, this is Mask, MASQUE. I had done a Mask special sometime earlier this year, so if you haven't checked that out, I kind of get real down and dirty into Mask lore and everything like that, and talking about the differences between the two versions. So feel free to check that out. But always pick up these early Dark Horse Presents, and then of course I got to grab this because it's got Jeff Darrow stuff on here, and then it's a Mike Allred drawn cover, so cannot get wrong there. Sticking to the theme of Dark Horse, so I got Concrete 1 and Concrete #2. Big fan of Concrete. I love Paul Chadwick. I always say that I think Paul Chadwick does the best job of drawing things underwater, just underwater sequences, swimming, fish, so on and so forth. He's the standard. I have Concrete collected in a trade paperback, but I've never had any single issues. Finally was able to find them at a good price in single issues, so I finally decided to pull the trigger and to pick some of these up. All right. Punisher Warzone Annual number 2, Punisher Warzone 32, and Punisher Warzone 4. So the first 5 is JR and Klaus Janson. Finally collected number 4, so I got 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5. Got the first 5 issues. So like I said, JR, and Klaus. Pencil ink on this guy. And then the River of Blood, the 6-part series. This was the last one that I needed, was the 2 out of 6. This is a 6-part series, as you can see, Joe Kubert did. So if you want to see Joe Kubert by himself on a Punisher comic, this is it, and this is some batshit stuff. This Warzone series is actually incredible. I don't know of anything past Joe Kubert's run. I've never read anything past it, so I don't know if it's any good or not. But yeah, dude, the first, 36 issues of this is actually really good, and highly recommend to track these down. Good old Usagi Yojimbo, number 2. This is the color version. I've been going down a Stance at Kai rabbit hole, like I'm sure a lot of people have been as of late. So, just been picking up more Usagi, trying to educate myself on the Grandmaster Sakai. Excuse me. And then we got Johnny Ryan at Angry Youth Comics. I have the first 5 issues of this. Finally found number 6. If you're unfamiliar with Johnny Ryan, he's done things like Fat Cop, Porn Basket, a couple other books, but he's just an off-the-wall underground cartoonist. The dude literally talks about anything and everything in subject matter. There's like no lines that he draws. So Johnny Ryan's a big influence of mine. I love his cartooning and his subject matter. And in the next anthology, I'm going to try to bring some of that Johnny Ryan influence out. I'm not going to say what I'm doing, but it's going to be something. I'm kind of curious to see what people's reactions are going to be to it. But love me some Johnny Ryan. Okay. We're going to keep these other 2 issues off to the side. Like I said, I have a bunch of shit here, so we're going to be doing this a while. All right. The Crow, Dead Time, good old James Abar and John Wagner. Alexander Maleev, just a fucking banger of a team working on this. Everybody knows James Abar is one of those guys for me personally. I have a big weakness for, if not the biggest weakness for it. I think James Abar is probably the creator I have like the most comics for, magazines, you know, that he's done, so on and so forth. So got a big weak spot for good old James. Finally was able to find an issue of Whoa Nelly, the wrestling comic that comes from Love and Rockets. I have this stuff collected in Love and Rockets, but I have yet to get these in single issues of Whoa Nelly. So finally was able to find number 1, and this is an iconic cover. Anytime I think about wrestling comics, or even I think about Love and Rockets, this image is what always popped into my mind personally. I'm a big wrestling guy, so there's a little bit of bias there, but yeah, this is good shit. If you haven't already, I'd honestly recommend to pick up Queen of the Ring as well. It's kind of the more black and white, straight pencil and ink, you know, raw art from this stuff, and it's incredible. So if you haven't seen that yet, feel free to go check that out. And we got Megaton Man, number 3 and number 4. Good old Don Simpson. So let's go ahead and grab this. So I talked to Don over the last couple of years or so, just back and forth with my original art mentor, Ray Farabach. So you can see Kitchen Sink Press. He was the art director there for 15 years. When I had told him that Don Simpson was like my favorite letterer / cartoon, one of my favorite cartoonists, you know, he gave me a bunch of information about Don, gave me his contact, and then ever since then, like I email back and forth every once in a while with Don. Finally was able to meet him at ADPCon, which was super awesome. He had given me this Savage Dragon print. You can see that here. And then he signed it for me down here on the bottom for Sam at ADPCon. So shout out to Don. And he told me when he originally drew this, as you can see, there really isn't any hair on Dragon's arms. And when he sent this to Eric Larson for like approval, like, hey, what do you think about this? He yelled at him and said you didn't draw any hair on his arms. So then Don just kind of like did some scratches on his arms instead of drawing the hair like you would see Larson do with like the pen nib. So I thought that was a kind of a funny story that he had told me, that Larson didn't approve of it at first, and so he just kind of scratched some. It looks like more like scales than it does hair, but that's what he had done. But yeah, good old 11x17 print from Don Simpson, one of my favorites. All right, let's grab this pile. Look at some oversized stuff here. So we got Zippy #1 in oversized. As everybody knows, Zippy is probably my favorite underground book, period. The Heart, it's funny. It's an underground book that doesn't like delve into, you know, the racist bullshit and the sexist bullshit, the misogynist bullshit that you see in a lot of, especially 70s underground stuff. It's just good, clean cut, underground goodness to where I would even feel comfortable like handing this shit to my grandma and like being like, hey, you can read this, and she would be okay with it, as opposed to I would never hand, you know, somebody in my family a Zap comics because like they would be raising their eyebrow at you like, what the fuck is wrong with you, son? Like, why are you reading this? So love Zippy, my all-time favorites. Every time I see Zippy, I gotta grab Zippy. And of course, Zippy on a skateboard. You're talking to, you know, a skateboarder myself. I've been skateboarding pretty much my entire life now at this point. So I see Zippy on a skateboard. I'm going to snatch that up. Super sick. All right. Then we have neat stuff by Peter Bagge. Big Peter Bagge fan. I love Hate. And then if you're not familiar with neat stuff, it's kind of like a nonsense comic is like the best way to describe it. It's like anything and everything Peter Bagge. So it really doesn't have like a theme to it or anything like that. It's just kind of more of like a anthology sort of thing, I guess, is a way to look at it. Love and Rockets #4 was finally able to round out the first 16 issues of Love and Rockets. And I already have them collected into trade paperbacks, but you know how this shit goes. I'd rather have single issues anyhow. This is an earlier print, if not the very first print. And just more Love and Rockets, man. As you can see, I love the Hernandez bros, so gotta keep on getting this. Alright, was finally able to round out my hard-boiled oversized collection. I had the smaller sized issues, and then as well I had it in like the smaller size trade paperback. I've been slowly but surely getting these into larger issues, and the #3 was the last one I finally needed. Found it in Pittsburgh, went ahead and snatched this bad boy up. And this is like one of my favorite images of all time. I actually will cut this out, print it and cut it out, and I always paste this on the back of my sketchbooks because I just think that it's a cool image to kind of stick on the back of a sketchbook. All right, and then Wild Cartoon Kingdom. So this is a weird magazine that I found for $1. The reasoning why I ended up buying it, I opened it up and, you know, they're advertising of the animated movie that they did for Batman Mask of Phantasm. Got Eon Flux stuff in here, Beavis and Butthead stuff. It's got Spunko stuff, so your Ren and Stimpy, so on and so forth. This is kind of like a character bible to Batman the Animated Series. So there's like character designs, environmental designs, you know, what Batman is supposed to do, what he's not supposed to do. So kind of those, you know, the character rules and whatnot. That stuff can be found in here. So if you are, excuse me. So if you are a big Batman fan, animated series, this is something that kind of sneaks under the radar a little bit, and I didn't know about this. And after I opened it up and looked at it, highly recommend to pick this up, especially if you're into like character guides, and like the nitty gritty of like animation and what they do in the backgrounds. This is actually a really cool book. And like I said, I found it for $1, so I'm sure that you can find it other places for that, if not cheaper. So recommend to hunt it down. Again, it's called Wild Cartoon Kingdom. Weird ass name, but who knows how many issues they did, because this doesn't even have an issue number on it, so this very well could be the very first issue that they put out. Hard to say. Never heard of it before until I found it in the dollar bin. Alright, let's grab this stuff. Okay, so all of these books that I'm holding into my hand I got for free from IDES. The guy just like, you can just have these, so I just straight up took it for free. So we got Madman Adventures. It's just an Ashcan number 4. And yeah, as you guys know, as I said previously, I am obsessed with Mike Allred. He's one of the greats. So got a good Ashcan for Madman. Batman Grendel, one of those fun crossover books that came out in the mid 90s. Matt Wagner loved Grendel. So you put Grendel and Batman together into the same book. Why the hell not? I got a thing for small ash cans, so anytime I see them, I gotta grab them. Batman Grendel. Alright, Gilbert Natalia Hernandez, brand new book, Roy. I'm super excited to get into this to read it. I was actually going to pre-order this through Fantagraphics, and they had sold out through their pre-orders, so I wasn't able to get one. And my local my LCS just doesn't get Fantagraphics books, like, really, period. So these are things that I usually have to order online. And thankfully, they had it at IDES, and he just threw it into my pile for free. So shout out to IDES for that. Okay, now we got some Tim Truman goodness. This guy here, this isn't Tim Truman, but I picked this up just because it's got Mr. Monster on it, and Swamp Thing, I'm a big fan of Mr. Monster, so anytime I see Mr. Monster, I snatch it up pretty much. Amazing Heroes, they're more like fanzines, kind of like insider knowledge kind of stuff, so kind of like a precursor to like Comics Journal, that sort of thing. Now we're getting into some Tim Truman goodness. So the first one is Scout, the Amazing Heroes that he did. Again, just Tim Truman's a master, and if you guys haven't seen Scout, highly recommend to track down issues of it. It's one of those dollar bin special books, just outlaw Native American dude riding through the desert on a motorcycle, just gunning dudes down with an Uzi. So if you're into that kind of shit, highly recommend to check out Scout and Tim Truman's other stuff, including Grimjack. Finally was able to find some issues of Grimjack. I've never seen these out in the wild here in Wisconsin. So when I had finally seen these, I snatched them up real quick. Tim Truman is just a master at just drawing just like gritty, just after you look at it, feels like you need to take a shower type shit. So highly recommend to also check out Grimjack. But like I said, Scout's probably my favorite book that Tim Truman has ever put out. But Grimjack is also a sick ass series. So if you haven't seen this, I would definitely recommend to check it out. All right, last out of this pile, we got number 1, Spirit, Will Eisner. So I'm fairly certain that my mentor Ray had actually colored these. Let's see if it says. I don't know if the credit is actually in here or not. Oh wait. Okay, so Pete Poplaski actually did it. So Pete is a good buddy of my original mentor. And Pete had done work on the most recent Megaton Man that Don put out, Don Simpson, through Kickstarter. The book that Eli Schwab had done on Kickstarter for him. That should be shipping out here fairly soon. But subsequent issues of the Spirit, and then as well the Cadillacs and Dinosaurs that ended up getting colored through Kitchen Sink, my mentor had colored those, all 6 issues of that. So Can't go wrong with the Spirit. Typically, I prefer black and white Spirit because that's just where, you know, my Will Eisner love goes. But you know, you can't go wrong with Will Eisner either way. I just prefer the black and whites. All right. So let's start looking at some kayfabe related stuff. So I pulled this out of a like $3 bin, I think, and it was signed. And there was another book in there that was also signed. I probably should have just snatched it up because it was signed, but I didn't. But what are you gonna do? Grand Design. Dave over at West Coast, he actually purchased the corner box art. I can't remember which issue it is, but the corner box art they were selling at an auction at the convention. He bought it for like 750 bucks. I think originally it was started at 250, and then it just went up and up and up and up. I was expecting it to hit like around 1,000, but when it hit 750, it just died, and that's when Dave got it. I mean, what more can you say about Grand Design? I actually own every single issue of this, and then I also own the treasuries of this. As you guys are aware, I call them rescue missions. So anytime I see kayfabe dudes out in the wild, ink pulp dudes out in the wild, any of my buddies out in the wild, I will snag those up and give them away to people, sell them myself or what have you, because I don't want them to live and die in the long boxes. They're meant to be read, not to be stored. So get the fuck out of the store and hook up the homies with some reading if they already don't have it. And then finally got the Jim Rugg variant for Crypto Killers #1, the Youngblood variant. I'm a big fan of those first like handful of Youngblood issues, kind of a sucker for it actually. So this is an amazing cover that good old Jim Rugg had put out. And then this is going to be another variant. This is for Antisocial Network. Yep, Antisocial Network #4, the kayfabe variant, and then as well there is the red variant for Trigger Warnings #4. So very similar, but just a little different. Shout out to Jim and Ed. And then I finally was able to grab the Red Room Jim Rugg had done with the Turtles homage cover. This is something that Dave had got a handful of times, and every time that he gets it on his streams, they get claimed before I'm able to grab it. So finally was able to find it out in the wild, and now I don't have to worry about hopefully winning it in Dave's live sales. So shout out to Jim on the cover. Okay, and this is something that I already owned, but I didn't have it with me, and obviously I was out in Pittsburgh, and I found this at the very first shop that we went to. It's called Doomed Comics. Super underground, like DIY sort of comic book shop. Like you walk in, it looks like a house, and it's 3 levels, and there's three businesses on each individual level. So like the first floor was a coffee shop, second floor was a record shop, and then the third floor was a comic shop. And when I say floors, I mean like this was like a legitimate like house. So like you walked into basically like a room that was like the size of a normal bedroom, and that was the comic shop. So it was real small, but nothing but DIY books and independent books. There were no Marvels, no DCs, you know, Dark Horse, so on and so forth. That was purely just like Fantagraphics and other small press books. Super impressed to actually see that. And I talked to the shop owner a little bit, gave him a couple of my books to put out onto the shelf. And when I was in there, I was like, oh shit, I should probably snatch this up so that way I have like a reference while I'm here for like the comic shops I should be visiting. So I ended up just buying another copy of it. I'll probably just end up giving this away to somebody. But you can see like here's Ides, here's Phantom of the Attic, here's I don't think any other stores that I went to are on here. Let's see. Oh, Pittsburgh Comics. I went to Pittsburgh Comics. They had like 3 pit bulls walking around in the store, just super nice dogs, just roll over, let you scratch their bellies. And then Phantom of the Attic, they were actually tabling at the con, and they brought a bunch of books with them, a bunch of long boxes, so I was able to dig through their store. And Phantom of the Attic, I would say, probably has the best deals in the city by a long shot. because they really don't have their books like labeled for pricing. It's literally like you walk up to the counter with whatever books that you have in your hand, and the guy's just kind of like, what, 20 bucks? It's kind of like you actually negotiate on pricing. Like there isn't like a set price on stuff. So a shout out to that. I wanted to head over to New Dimension Comics. That place is fucking massive. They have a store in Ohio, and I know that after we all had left Doomed Comics, so like Jim, both Jim's, MAHFOOD, Rug, Brian Moss, West Coast Dave, they all went over to Ohio because New Dimensions has a like a warehouse over there that you can do tours up and dig through. So shout out to that. All right, let's see what we got here. Just give me a moment. All right. And then this is also something that I already owned, was the wrestling magazine that Jim Rugg had put out. This was one of those rescue mission things. I could have obviously purchased another one of these directly from Jim, like I have done in the past, but I found this in a bin in one of the stores. I don't remember which one, so I, again, a rescue mission, snatched it up and took it. So if you're big into wrestling, this is an incredible book, actually. Very similar to the Love and Rocket stuff, for sure. You can definitely tell that Jim picked up a lot of influence from the way that those books are laid out. Hip Hop Family Tree, the Treasury number 2. So I have 1, 3, and 4, and then finally picked up 2. That was missing out of my collection. I bought the 2-pack originally when they were selling this in the 1 and 2s, and I have no idea what the fuck happened to this book. Maybe I accidentally sold it. Somebody took it. I honestly have no idea, but now I got it again. Can't go wrong with Hip Hop Family Tree. Again, shout out to Ed. All right, let's start getting into this nonsense then. All right, so this is something that I picked up from the Piscor family's table at ADPCon. And also, as you can see, I got my ADP t-shirt on currently, so shout out to that. So, I've been trying to find this comic for ages now, and it's like $60 to $80 on eBay, and that's just not something that I'm willing to pay for a single issue, especially if I already own the issue and I'm just getting it purely just for the cover. As you guys know, I'm a massive Public Enemy fan. It's like they're one of my favorite bands. And so this Newberry Comics exclusive was sold exclusively, obviously, through Newberry Comics. I had gone up to their table and I'd seen that they had a bunch of variants. And I asked, and I said, hey, do you guys happen to have the Newberry Comics variant of Hip Hop Family Tree number 1 that has flavor on the front of it? And I can't remember who it was, but somebody, maybe it was Justine or whoever, I can't remember, but they're like, no, we actually don't have any more of those. We sold out of them recently. But we do have this, and she just pulls out the print, and I'm like, no, perfect, because 1, that saves me money, and 2, I'd rather have that because, like I said, I already own the issue, and I'm purely in it because flavor's on the cover. That's literally it. So getting it blown up in 11x17, it's like I'm gonna stick this bad boy in a frame and hang it up in my studio now. So shout out to that. And then of course you've got Bismarcky on there. It's got NWA, Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Tupac, Will Smith, Jazzy Jeff. So hey man, can't go wrong with that. Put this stuff away here. Okay. Let's talk about some MAHFOOD a little bit. All right, so I picked up. So my local comic shop is like unable to get anything small press, independent press. It's like if it's not Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Dynamite, Boom, like those bigger companies, the dude just can't order them for whatever fucking reason, or he just doesn't have any interest in actually getting me those books. So I picked up Big Rig 1 and 2 from Jim. He didn't do the interiors, but he did the covers. Signed them for me, and he did a little drawing on the front covers for me. So again, shout out to Jim. Got to hang out with him a bunch over the weekend. Super nice guy, and yeah, it got to the point to where it's like the homie was giving me hugs and giving me all sorts of advice and everything like that. So this weekend, like I said, it was fucking incredible that I was able to sit and pick his ear as much as I did. So if anybody is the MVP of the con, it's definitely Jim in my eyes. It was awesome being able to spend some time with him and bond with him over the con. Now here's my prized possession that I got from Jim. So I got a piece of art from him, and I was flipping through his art books, and I was kind of like, hey, I wanted to pick up something from the dude. I don't own any original art of Jim's, and obviously he's a big influence on me, not only in terms of like his art ability, but just the dude's hustle. He just doesn't fucking stop, and he hasn't stopped his entire life, and that's something that, I take a lot of influence from. So, of course, I'm a Creature of the Black Lagoon is probably my favorite Universal Monsters monster. And then Scooby-Doo as well, huge Scooby-Doo fan, so you put the two together, of course, is the one I'm going to pick up. I'm fairly certain this is, what's it name, Roboto? Moto Roboto, maybe is his name, from He-Man, the toy. It's escaping me right now, but I'm pretty sure that's who that is. But, some original art Jim hooked me up with, so again, shout out to Jim. All right. So here's the pamphlet for Eddie Pecan. I wish that I had my badge and everything with me. I think I accidentally left that stuff over at my girlfriend's house, but nonetheless. This is the pamphlet that they gave out to you when you walk through the doors, and then as well if you're at the con. It just kind of like shows off the schedule for everything that had gone down, and then the guest list, which they spelled my name wrong. They only put 1 C in McClurg instead of 2, which is fine. But it's kind of wild that I'm so high up on the guest list. I'm right at number 4. So when you're looking at the floor mat, here I am. So it's like you walk through the doors, and I was literally right there at the front of the doors, basically. I had a really good booth spot, to be honest with you, because right in between 4 and 3, there's actually a hallway, and it goes down to the bathrooms. So like a million people had to walk past my booth over the weekend, and I was able to poach people coming in and out of the bathrooms. So I actually made a fucking killing at the con, not only monetary wise, but just being able to like hustle with everybody, get the books out there, and do what I got to do to get the word of comics spread. The reason why I wanted to show this off is because some of the people that are listed here, we're going to be taking a look at some of their stuff. So of course we're going to be taking a look at some stand-up record stuff. That's my boy Dan over at Stand Up Records. He owns a record label called Stand Up Records. The name as it implies, they do stand-up records, so comedy records. So he's got like David Cross on his record label, so on and so forth. So definitely highly recommend to check out standuprecords.com. Pick up some vinyls, CDs, cassettes from them, what have you. Yeah, anyways, we're going to end up looking at these guys as comics, but we'll give them a shout out them. But yeah, just kind of wanted to show this off a little bit before we start getting into the actual indie creator stuff here. So since we are on the topic of stand-up Dan, let's show off some stuff that he hooked me up with. So he gave me like these cool little coins. This is basically kind of like a friendship coin or purchase coin, whatever you want to say. It's got his logo on it. Anytime anybody picks up something from or purchases anything from him, he gives out like these little campaign coins. So he gave me a couple of these. I bought a patch from him. Cool underground art there. Gonna stick that on my jean jacket. Which, speaking of which, I was wearing my jean jacket the first day I was there, and MAHFOOD had seen that I had the Savage Street Vigilante patch on there, and he like freaked the fuck out, and he took a picture of it and posted it up on Instagram. And then some more stickers that I picked up from Stand Up Dan. He was literally sitting right across from me at the con. The first day I was there digging with, like I said, with Jim, Dave, Dan was also there. And then after everybody had kind of split, I ended up hanging out with Dan for like a majority of the weekend. We went to a bakery, got some food, went and got some sandwiches. I got to hang out with him a bunch, and now we're texting buddies. So shout out to Dan. Like I said, standuprecords.com. Check him out. And this is something that Dan had given me. So this is a massive like magazine-sized thing. He had 5 issues of this. This was put out by an artist that he used to work with, Stephen something. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head right now. It's kind of escaping me. But this is just kind of like a punk magazine is like the best way to describe it. But it definitely has comics and cartoons in it. The reasoning why I picked this up from him is because here it is. Circle Jerks is probably my second favorite band. And so here's a whole interview in here that the magazine did with Keith Morris. So that's the reasoning why I picked this issue up in particular. And he was selling them for $1 a piece, which is like a fucking steal for what you're getting in these magazines. But then, yeah, like I said, there's actual comics in here. And the dude that does the art for these books is actually like batshit nuts. Just crazy art this guy does, as you can see. So this is called Pork Magazine. From my understanding, he is no longer producing porks because he has some sort of like hand disease, I think is what he had told me, or he had a stroke or something, and he lost all mobility in his hands and he can't draw anymore. So this is kind of like they did 11 issues and that was it, and they stopped because, like I said, he had a stroke and he can't draw anymore. So, and he was the one that was putting out the magazines. But really cool punk mag. Alright, I'm just going to bring this whole tote over here. Alright. First thing I want to check out is from my boy Jake Boston. As you can see here, there is on Instagram if you wanted to go follow him. I read through this entire thing like right before the stream, actually, because I was curious to see what it was. Okay, first of all, if you're listening, Jake, you can draw your fucking ass off, dude, and I'm super excited to see like what you do in the future, because like look at this, like this is actually like batshit crazy. It is Tim Vigil-esque, black and white. Definitely isn't outlaw, I would say. It's just black and white because, you know, the outlaw, you definitely need like the graphic violence and as many dicks and titties as possible in them. But yeah, this is like a super crazy book. The dude can just draw his ass off, and the story is amazing. It's kind of like a play on the theory of creation, as you would. So that's what this book is about. And you definitely can see a lot of Eddie P in this dude's wheelhouse, especially in like the eyes and the noses. See a lot of piss score in his DNA. So shout out to Jake. Got to meet him over the weekend. And pretty much all these creator-owned comics were all traded. So it's like I walked around the show and I was like, hey, do you guys want to do comic for a comic? And that's kind of the way that we operated. And the last day of the show was super busy for me, not only like in terms of selling comics, but just kind of doing the networking. So I took 25 of the second issue of the anthology, and I only had 3 left at the end of the con. So I sold whatever, like 22 copies of that book over the weekend. So kind of nuts. And that was the con to do it at. So I have no idea who did this. So if you do know, feel free to leave it in the comments down below or throw it in the chat. This is just like an iron-on patch that my girlfriend thought was kind of funny. It's just literally just a butt, and it has squid tentacles all around it. I don't know. So we just bought this because we thought it was funny. Now, like I said, I don't know what cartoonist had this at their table, so I apologize. But nonetheless, I picked it up, so I figured I would show it off. All right, so this is my buddy Ryan Tavares. So the day before the con at like 6, 7 o'clock, we all got invited over to Bobby's house. Bobby Piscor is Ed's brother. So it was super awkward because obviously nobody knew anybody, and there was just a house full of cartoonists, and cartoonists are just awkward in general. And if anything, I'm probably the most outgoing cartoonist that I know personally. So that definitely helped a lot to like drive conversation and get people talking and everything like that. And on Sunday, Ryan came over and handed me his books and kind of said, "Hey, thanks for having a conversation with me over at Bobby's house. I was having a hard time. It was a little awkward being there, so I appreciate you carrying a conversation with me." So then we ended up swapping books, and gave me some stickers of his characters, some luchas, and his wife was there as well. Super sweet. They're actually due to have a kid any moment now, I'm pretty sure. So here in the next couple of weeks, they're going to be popping out a kid, and that's going to be his life. I did approach him to ask if he wanted to do any pinups or anything like that for the anthology or for my Kickstarter, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, super great cartooning. The dude can also just draw his ass off. Definitely a really cool, simplistic style that I can get down with. Reminds me a lot of like Sean Crystal's art in a way. It's very thick brush lines and everything like that. So shout out to my boy Ryan. If you are watching, love you, brother. And this is the other book that he had put out, El Pico de Gallo. It's just a wrestling anthology. So shout out to Ryan. And you can find him at TAVAREZArt.com. Check him out. I guess I'll grab both of these things here. All right, so Turtles Zero, the grand design. So I picked this up from Brian Moss's table. This is something that has been on my list for quite a long time. Finally decided to pick it up. And this is kind of like an anthology book. As you can see, there's like an unlimited amount of cartoonists that are in this. There's like fucking 35 people that worked on this book. But nonetheless, so you can see they had 24 hours, basically just one day to make something happen. That's kind of the way that Brian Moss operates. He's like, you got a day to get me pages, and if you don't give me pages and you're getting in the book, very fast turnaround times. I like to give people 4 weeks because I like to see, hey, if you can give me how many, 10 pages or less. That's kind of the way that I like to operate. But super cool for him to do that. I got Brian Moss to sign it. I got Voss to sign it. I think Dev may have worked on this as well, but I didn't have the book in my possession when I originally had talked to him, so I didn't get him to sign it. I know Rojo Kova, somebody who's in the ink pulp community. I know he was in this book. But yeah, this is a super cool turtle book. It's just kind of like I said, it's just a turtle bootleg anthology, so there's just a bunch of nonsense in here and a bunch of badass drawings as well. So if you're a fan of turtles and kind of a fan of just weird, obscure anthologies, I definitely recommend to pick this up. So there's Rojo's stuff, and then I think Brian Moss is like kind of, and then here's Jeremy HYLER stuff, which he eventually turned into his own issue. So you can see here, I got Jeremy to sign my copy for me. Me and him did a comic trade. But yeah, here's everybody that worked on the book. I'll kind of hold this here for a second so you guys can see that. If you decide you want to check out any of the creators. And like I said, Brian Moss is the one who published this. So you can find Brian Christopher Moss. His YouTube channel is called Power to the Panel. He does like streams pretty much every day, live drawing streams, and as well he does like interviews with independent cartoonists for their Kickstarters and whatnot. So go support Brian Moss and what he does over there. Alright, so this is a Splinter bootleg. So if you know anything about me and my love for Turtles, Splinter is my favorite character from Turtles. So I have read all of Jeremy Hyler's books through his website. I think it's just jeremyhylerart.com. I could be wrong. So it's just jeremyhyler.com, and here's all his contact information if you guys want to reach out to Jeremy. Jeremy is a cool-ass dude, and he actually won the award of IC3 this year for Independent Cartoonist of the Year. The motherfucker put out 6 comics last year, which is, like, insane. Writing, coloring, pencil, ink, all that stuff. He did all of it. Super impressive. That is kind of... I always use that 6-issue goalpost for me to, like, I want to get to a point to where I can do that, and like just this year alone, it's like I'm gonna have like 4 or 5 releases. Anthologies, I get they're kind of like a group project, but it's like I do all of the design work, I do all the publishing, I have to round up everybody, so on and so forth. So I view it as its own project as well, even though all the pages on the insides aren't something that I've drawn. But just getting out as many releases as I possibly can is kind of the goal. But yeah, this is kind of a retelling, as you would, of Splinter. So if you're a big fan of Splinter like I am and kind of want to get that, you know, that new backstory or a different backstory about how Splinter came to be, this is a cool book to check out. Always My Father, and I know for sure you can read this digitally on his website, or you can just pick up an issue from him. I gotta support Jeremy and what he does. The dude's a badass. Alright, so this next book was kind of a mini ashcan thing. So my boy Ryan James had worked on this book. Here's his contact. It's just at Ryan James. He is a Toronto boy, I'm pretty sure. He's Canadian. So shout out to Ryan. That was good meeting you at the con, brother. We got to sit at the last day of the con. Me and him went to well, a bunch of us, pretty much everybody, went over to Red Robin and ate. Got to shoot the shit with Kazar at Red Robin, of IC3 and OAX fame, and then as well Jim Rugg, MAHFOOD. Bunch of people were there. Don Simpson, so got to sit and eat some burgers with the boys, talk comics a little bit. But yeah, the dude can really draw his ass off. I really like the aspect of the abstract aspect, if I could speak English here, of his art. It very much reminds me of like a like European style of comic almost. But yeah, the dude's an incredible cartoonist. He can just draw his ass off. So he's a good dude as well. So highly recommend to check out anything that Ryan does. Again, there's his QR code if you guys wanted to scan that and check out anything that he's done. And as you can see, there's a Hellboy up here. He was published in a Hellboy anthology that Dark Horse put out officially, and he had those at his table. And I didn't know that, so like he's a pro, you know. And I gave him a signed print that I did of Hellboy, and he was really appreciative of that because I was like, "Oh, you love Hellboy?" Then he's like, "Yeah, it's my favorite." So went over to my table and signed the print for him and gave it to him. And then we ended up exchanging books. So shout out to Ryan. All right. And then we got my boy Crazy Chris over at his booth. He had like nothing but wrestling style comics. So he had one called like the Crippling Grappler, which was a bio comic about Chris Benoit. So put your own conclusions there on how that book ended. He told me, he's like, when I first showed, he's like, I released this book last year. He's like at the first Eddie P Con, and he showed it to Jim Rugg. And Jim Rugg was like, "Are you ready to get some fucking heat for this book? Because you're gonna get some hate for this book." And I looked at it, and man, I love underground stuff, and I love just random ass bullshit too. But never in a million years would I get a Chris Benoit comic. But yeah, Crazy Chris, good dude. We also swapped comics. And yeah, so if you're just into black and white goodness, especially about wrestling, this is it. And And then this is supposedly supposed to be his wife, and he was telling me about his wife was all up in arms about how she was drawn in the comic, and he had to keep going back and like re-editing it and everything like that to get it to her liking to how she was drawn. But yeah, he's super cool dude, and like I said, if you're into wrestling and all that sorts of stuff, I would definitely check out his comics, because that's like all he does. And as you can see, he kind of gives a background about why he got back into making comics and everything like that, because he fell off of making comics and didn't want to do it anymore. And then his buddy had 3D printed him characters, like you know, just from his comics, and that's apparently what made him decide to keep making comics. So Wrestling with My Demons, Crazy Chris, and there is his contact information, so check him out. And when I say Crazy Chris, I mean it. The dude has wild energy, so yeah, super fun to talk to. Okay, so this was given to me by Kazura. So this is CXC, so Cartoon Crossroads in Columbus. It's a big convention that's going to be coming up here in the coming weeks. I know James Easterly is going to be doing a panel there for like independent cartooning and everything like that. So this is just like a magazine, newspaper, just kind of advertising the con. It's got a bunch of stuff in there about, hey, what's going to be at the con, when's it going to be. Oh shit, it actually started today on the 18th. So it says the 18th to the 21st, so yeah, it just started today. So if you're listening, James, good luck, brother, because I know that you're kind of nervous about the the panel, but you got it. But yeah, this is like a fun little magazine or newspaper that they put out, just kind of promoting the con. It's got some comics and whatnot in here as well. This is probably like the third or fourth newspaper comic that I have in my collection. Now, they are a pain in the ass to store because of how large they are, but I kind of have a weak spot for them. But yeah, the Columbus Scribbler, good shit. Alright, this is really the last of the bunch, it looks like, for what I have. I do have more stuff, but they're still at my girlfriend's house, packed up into bins, so at some point, probably next week during the stream, I'll have that. So like I have more stickers, comics, t-shirts and whatnot that I bought. Then as well, this hat, Stand Up Records. My boy Dan gave this to me at the end of the con. I was bitching and moaning that I needed a new hat, and he literally just threw it at me and he's like, take it. So can't complain there. All right, so this stuff that's in here, this is from my buddy Noir. I sat beside him the entire con. He was at the table right beside me, and when I was talking about Crazy Chris and like his wild energy, Noir also has wild energy, but they're very different. It's hard to describe, but this dude is just fucking funny. That's like the way I can just describe it. Like he had me and him were just fucking cracking jokes all weekend. And he is a hell of a cartoonist too, so super excited to show you guys this. He does a lot of wrestling stuff, so he had like wrestling prints, wrestling like fanzines, so on and so forth, which I didn't pick any of those up. But these are comics that he put out, and he self-publishes everything, prints everything himself. They don't get done he doesn't get them done at like a printer. And just the fucking illustrations that this dude does is just insane. Like he is so good, and he's doing like this weird like South Park thing, to where like if you ever notice in like South Park, like they'll have pictures of people, but they'll be like the real pictures. He kind of does that in his comics, which I think is kind of funny. I don't know if that's the inspiration, but you can kind of see here, it's like here's Freddie Mercury in the background. It's just a straight up picture of him and not a drawing. I don't know why, but I think that's so funny. But yeah, Attack of the Cum Gnomes. So you can see what kind of stuff this is. But yeah, Noir is just a fucking, like I said, he is so funny. I had a great time with him over the weekend. I actually was just talking to him yesterday. He was in Brian Moss's chat when Brian Moss was streaming. So I got to connect with him a little bit. And this is the second issue. Again, just the print quality on this, the colors, the way that it feels. He does all of this himself, and I was like, where do you get this shit at? And he's gonna send me the goods on basically like what he's using to print on and everything, so that way I can replicate this, because it's honestly, it's super impressive. I think I'd still go with like an uncoated paper on the inside, but just like the quality is so high. Yeah, the dude can just draw his ass off. I wonder if there is any. Okay, here we go. Little QR code action. See if we can get that to focus in. But Noir Amador is his name. NoirAmador.com is how you can find him. There with the QR code as well. I did look at these, so weirdos. So this one is the very first thing that I picked up from him, and I was fucking dying. And again, this is just something that he makes on his own. The very first thing that I saw in here, and I was like, okay, like me and this dude are definitely gonna get along. R. Kelly pissing on the main character. I mean, the book is called Weirdo for a reason, but man, when I saw that, I was like, all right, me and Noir are definitely cut from the same cloth. You know what I mean? Just exactly what it is. We're some fucking weirdos, man. Comic weirdos. Super funny though. And yeah, and here's Noir as a kid. I'm assuming this is like a what is that? I don't even think that's like an ID. It might be like a camp ID or something. Like it's not an actual state ID, but anyhow, he's cracking jokes on himself with Ron Jeremy on the back of his comic, and the dude just puts the negative review, the 1-star review that he got on the previous comic right on the back of this. Dude, that is so funny. Everybody speaks so highly of this comic. They are completely wrong. This is the worst thing I've ever read. It's like a hot fart. It's like, if I would not buy it again, or whatever it says. So fucking funny. But yeah, Noir. Like I said, the dude is just batshit insane. I really don't know what else to say about the guy. Had a great time with him over the weekend. We were sitting in like people watching the people coming into the con, you know, all like the neck bearded guys and stuff that you would see, and just kind of cracking jokes on them. Yeah, we were having a fucking blast, man. It was so fun. I cannot wait until next year. Like, I'm actually dying. Like, I wish the fucking next year's con was tomorrow, because like I'm ready. It was probably the best con I've ever done, and probably the best con I've ever been to. Like, just the community behind everything. Everybody being super encouraging to one another, pushing comics, just like networking, getting their stuff out there. Seeing Jim Ruggs, like, seeing his reaction when I handed him my Micron holders, and he was like, holy shit, dude, like, now this is something that's like game changing, because it solves problems for me. Like, if you're a cartoonist and you work with Microns, it's like, it's like you have a pile of those pins, and it's like they just get all jumbled up, and you want to find a certain size. You're like looking at the end of the caps, being like, nope, that's not the 005. Nope, that's it. That's not it. That's not it. And it's like a non-stop thing until you finally find the damn thing that you're looking for. I will show you guys. And this is stuff that I'm going to have available up on my website after the weekend. I'm going to, excuse me. I took a picture. I have a light box. I'm going to take some professional photos of the product that I'm going to be selling, so that way that it looks good. But you can see this is the Micron holder, and it's elevated, so it's at an angle. And then as well, it has rubber feet that I stuck to the bottom of these, so you can stick it on an inclined drawing desk. One of my ideas as well is to put a hook on the back, so you can hook it to a desk. So if you're one of those guys that has your desk at like a complete 90-degree angle almost, you'll still be able to utilize this. Because as you can see, the pins are going to come out if it's sitting at a complete horizontal angle. So to give it different form functions. But I have all my Microns organized, so it's like, here's my brushes, here's my other brushes, here's my 08s, here's my 03s. This is kind of like my miscellaneous, so like I have my scalpel for my screen tones, and then I have my Pentel Parallel, and then my 005. So like these are like my main inking tools, like everything that I basically use right here. For the most part, I'm on the parallel. But yeah, it's super nice having this stuff organized, and then I put the freshest ones in the front, or sorry, the ones that I'm using in the front. So then that way, once they do start getting burnt out, you know, I'll put the piece of tape on it to let me know that, hey, this is the dry brushed one, and then I'll throw that into a separate bin, and then use that if I need to get any dry brushing, and then just, you know, move the pins down so that way I know which ones are the freshest ones, and they don't get lost in the drawers. So I'm gonna have this available to sell after the weekend. I have a smaller one that only holds like 12, and this one holds 24. And then I'm going to be selling those at $3 and $5 respectively, which is like a fucking steal, especially for the amount of work that it took me into making these things. So if that's something that's of interest to you, I'll have that up on my website to purchase. And like I said, I completely overhauled my website, and that's something that I've been working on in the background the last couple of weeks. I got my LLC finally spun up, so I'm able to finally process card payments and not going over the table and everything like that. So if you can just go straight to my website, you can just order stuff. Zero interaction with me now. It's like any other fucking website where you'd be buying stuff. Obviously, if you want to do commission, you still have to reach out to me, and we got to suss that stuff out. But yeah, I'm gonna have like my stencils on there, my guides on there, all sorts of shit. So a lot of this stuff, again, is at my girlfriend's house still packed away. But this is something else that I've made and haven't shown off yet. But I have like bigger circle guides, so that you can see like these are big ass circles. I think the largest one here is 4 inches, and then it's 3, 2, and then 1. So in terms of the or 1.5, sorry. So got some good circles, and then as well I have all the ends elevated on these. Kind of hard to see on the camera, but they have little, you know, nubbins on here to where it sits elevated up off the table, so that way your ink doesn't get, you know, dragged underneath the circle. So you got a clean circle after you pick up the piece. So again, this stuff I'm going to be selling for like a fraction of the price that you would be able to find it from like an art store. And that goes with as well like these circle guides that I've designed and made. Same thing, they're elevated, basically every fucking circle size that you would ever need, from like the smallest one possible up to, you know, like an inch. Yeah, it's about an inch. So just various sizes. Then again, this will be like a fraction of the price for the ones that you'd be able to find anywhere else. And I'm doing this strictly because I can make them cheaper, and I can offer them cheaper than what those art stores would, and directly to the other cartoonists. And like that's what I'm trying to do, is like support the artist community, so you guys don't have to fucking spend, you know, $25 on a big ass circle guide when you can only spend $3, you know what I mean? So just trying to help out the community the best that I can with my skill sets that I have with like my engineering background. When I handed that micron holder to Jim Rugg, like his fucking jaw literally hit the floor, and he was like, dude, like this is actually incredible, and I like, please like do something with these more. He gave me some different ideas and guides on what to make, like 9-panel grid guides, 6-panel grid guides, so on and so forth. But West Coast Dave was standing right beside me when I was shooting the shit with Jim Rugg and about the micron holders. He pulled me aside and he's like, hey man, like you need to make like a full-on like commercial for these things, because like you just saw Jim's reaction. It's like, if that's how he's reacting, imagine how other cartoonists are going to react. You know, being able to get stuff like this that just solves problems that nobody else thinks of unless you are a fucking cartoonist. And so that's what I'm trying to do. It's like, I'm not really trying to solve any problems. I'm just trying to make our lives easier as a community, that's all. And then you're able to support me by supporting, you know, the stuff that I make, and then as well I'm able to support you because now you have product that is specifically designed and functions for comic book making. Because as you guys know, not every guide has elevated ends on them. So when you're drawing on them, you pick it up, the ink is going to smear underneath. The ink is going to get underneath the actual guide itself and get smeared. So these are all things that I thought about ahead of time before I went into the design process. And like these things have been reiterated on like 3 or 4 times over. It's like, I'll print them, do them. All right, this didn't work out this way. Let's do another rendition. And then like I got them to a point to where I was happy with them and able to sell them. So if anybody does end up picking this stuff up from me in the future, you know, I'm open to feedback, and I want the feedback because I want these things to be as good as possible. One of the things that I have been working on is getting more flexible plastics. That way these things are not shatterable and break. And it's not like you could smack this thing as hard as you want, and this thing would not break. It's super strong. And yeah, I'm proud of the product that I'm making. Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure everything else that I got is all, let's go ahead and change this up here. Everything that I have is all still over at my girlfriend's house, so next stream I'll definitely have some more stuff to show off. Because when I left the con, I probably have a short box worth of comics. Like, I'm not even joking. I probably have like 100+ comics that I bought, and a lot of it just came straight out of a dollar bin. And even then, like I was saying earlier, some of the dudes over at I just straight up just gave me books for free. So cannot complain about that. But that's definitely going to be the plan, probably for next stream. I do have some footage from the trip, but not a lot. And honestly, not all of it is usable. Mainly because music in the background. Like I published a short, the second short that I published, where I'm sitting in the con. It got hit with the fucking copyright strike yesterday. It's like it was up for all of 25 minutes, and Universal Music Group hit it with the copyright strike because there was like barely any music in the background of the con. It heard it, and it picked it up, and it dinged it. I really don't give a shit, but it's just really annoying having to deal with that kind of stuff with like the strikes and everything like that, and having to dispute it and all that. I would just rather not deal with it. But I do have some stuff from like walking into IDES that I can show. And then some other just like random clips and whatnot just from at the con, just kind of sitting at the table bullshitting with people. With that being said, I do have the Kickstarter, like I said earlier in the stream, that is up and active. The thing is going to like go live probably like the second week of October, probably, because I know MAHFOOD is going to be launching Arachnid Enforcer on the first week of October. I don't want it to get buried there. They're all the same channel because like we hang out in the same groups, so it's like I don't want my product to get overshadowed by his by any means. So taking that into effect, so probably the second week of October I'll probably actually launch it. So in about 3 weeks or so, I'm still waiting on like 2 pinups from people, and I'm waiting on my last variant cover. So once I have all that stuff, I'll be able to put it together. The book is 100% done. Like I have the whole thing drawn, scanned in, lettered. I have basically the design completely finished. I'm literally just waiting for artwork at this point to drop it into the pinup gallery. And then I have to number my pages, make a table of contents, and it's done. Like before the stream, right after I got done with work, I came in here, I scanned in all of my script pages that I have for the comic. So just straight up dialogue, screenplay that I had done. I scanned in all those pages, converted them to black and white, dropped them into Photoshop, have them on a script page now, so that's done. So literally the book is like 99% done. I'm just waiting on 2 people to give me their art. If one of those people doesn't follow through, then unfortunately I'm going to have to, you know, move on and find somebody else to get me some more art to help fill up those pages. But I'm starting to think that the book is probably going to be around like 45 to 50 pages just for the first issue, just based off of the pinups I'm going to have in there. I scanned in all of my thumbnails, and I wrote commentary about every single page for the most part. So like that right there took up like a good 5 to 6 pages of just like thumbnails, my director's commentary on it. I wrote all of that out. I have the forward done. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be in that book besides just like the 28 pages of comics that I drew. So the story itself is 28 pages, and the rest of that is all just bonus content. So like the other half of the book basically is all bonus content. And I love that shit, seeing pencils process, script writing, so on and so forth. With that being said, tomorrow I am going to be on Nerdy Musings again on James Foster's podcast. He's somebody who's going to be doing a pinup for me. So hopefully tomorrow I'll get an update for him on what that's going to be looking like. And then that episode, he's usually 2 or 3 weeks out, so he has a bunch of people booked ahead of me, you know. So in about 2 to 3 weeks or so, that interview should go live, like pretty much right around the time the Kickstarter goes up. So that way, that'll be fresh and be able to promote that. And then as well, I'm going to be on Lauren Marshall's show. So she was just on Ink Pulp Live yesterday. I reached out to her last week, early in the week, and had asked, like, hey, you know, I'd love to come onto your show and pitch my Kickstarter, do some live drawings with you. And she said, sure, let's do it. So Her and I are arranging that. She lives in Australia, so obviously there's a big ass time difference there. So we're trying to figure that out and what we're going to be doing. Probably have to do it on like a Sunday night, and then pivot in to her. That would be her Monday morning. So we'll see. We'll figure it out. I know that she said that she was booked like 2 or 3 weeks out as well. So once my time to shine is up, it's gonna be like right around the time that the Kickstarter goes up. So it's like perfect timing and all this stuff. And then I do have a third interview that I'm trying to get booked with Brian Moss. I'm just waiting for him to email me back. I emailed him yesterday to see what his schedule looked like so I could get onto his show and promote the book there. If you're in the Wisconsin Fox Valley area, I am going to be tabling Comicverse again. That's kind of like the local comic convention. They travel all around Wisconsin. It's like a group of like 30 dudes that own their own individual tables. I mean, they kind of like scatter around. For the most part, I'm the only cartoonist that ever tables those things. I usually don't do the greatest in terms of sales, but it's more they're getting my name out and everything like that. And plus, it's like a week and a half away. It's on October 26th, up in Green Bay at the what is it, the D1 sports pub bar, and they have like a huge banquet hall in that bar, and that's where they do it at. I believe it used to be a hotel, because that's the only reason why there would be a big ass banquet hall like that. But anyhow, so I'm gonna be there doing that. I think I'm probably gonna end up printing like a 3 or 4 page ash can, just to kind of promote it there, just hand it out to people for free with the Kickstarter QR code on it to get the word going. Before the weekend at EddiePCon, I think I had like 14 people that were backing the Kickstarter. Now I'm at 22, I believe. So my goal is no less than 50. That's like, I'm not going to turn it on until I hit 50 for sure. So if I hit 50 before the second week of October, then great. I'm still going to wait until the second week of October. But if the second week of October rolls around and I'm not at 50 yet, probably not going to turn it on. I'm probably just still going to do the promotions for the book for the pre-launch, and then once that number 50 kind of hits, I think I'm going to turn it on. It's like, realistically, you want as many human beings as possible on that pre-launch phase, so that way when it does go active, all those emails get pushed out to those people and they're aware of it. But for somebody at such a low level like myself, you look at Jim, and he has like almost 500 people back in his book currently in pre-launch. And his thing has been live though for like, oh my god, it's probably been like a month and a half, if not like 2 months now. His Kickstarter pre-launch has been up for a while, and I know he's not done with the book, just from talking to him. So the book is still in progress. My shit's completely finished. It's literally just getting the funding for the printing, for the add-ons, and getting everybody's art, and just sending it. Hopefully we get the sign-ups. So share it, like it, send it out to as many people as possible, shove it down their fucking throats, and let's make it the big success that it can be. And it's pretty much starting like Monday, I'm gonna start drawing issue number 2, and I'm kind of hoping that I'm gonna have that thing like 3/4 of the way done, if not completely done, by the time the first issue is getting printed. And they can just kind of do the whole snowball effect and roll into the next thing. We do have the 3rd anthology coming up as well, so if you guys wanted to draw and do anything for that, the deadlines for that is going to be October 1st through November 1st, and then as you guys are aware, it's like I'm super fast on designing, getting the thing turned around and printed. Usually within like a week and a half, 2 weeks, like I get the thing fucking done and sent off. So that way we can get it back into our hands by like mid to late November. So it'll be like right before the winter. So we'll still be able to hit that fall window. And I'm kind of thinking we're going to go into like more of a comedy thing, because the first one, it was just kind of like send me whatever the fuck you want. Second one, we did like a horror theme. I think this third one, we'll do like a comedy theme. Just judging off of what I want to do, because like I said earlier, Johnny Ryan has been a big influence on me. So I think I'm going to try to lean into that just off the wall, underground nonsense. So I think I'm going to do something very Johnny Ryan-esque for the 3rd anthology. I already know what I'm going to do. I have the idea written down in stone on what I want to do. It's just a matter of sitting down, thumbnailing it, writing it, and getting it done. I'm kind of curious to see what everybody's reaction is going to be. When I told my girlfriend what I was gonna do and what it's gonna be about, she basically just shook her head at me and said, "You're fucking ridiculous." That was her reaction. So, kind of curious to see what everybody else thinks about it. But I think that's probably where I'm gonna call it. Though we've been going for like an hour and a half. It's like one of the longest streams we've done in quite a while. I did have a lot of shit to talk about and a lot of stuff to catch up on. Like I said, over the weekend, I'm gonna take my white box over to my girlfriend's house. We're gonna be snapping photos of everything that we need to get put up onto the website, and then all that stuff is gonna get thrown up there, and it's gonna get edited, um, and posted, so that way you guys will be able to buy like the micron holders from me, circle guides, the half tone guides, all that kind of stuff. I'll have readily available. And then as well, if you're just now popping into the stream, we're going to be wrapping up, and I showed off pretty much everything that I picked up from EDPCon, including all the independent cartoonists. I don't think I missed anybody. I'm pretty sure everybody in the group actually had QR codes or contact information on their books, which, thank you, that makes my life so much easier on having to credit everybody. And then as well, it makes it easier for people to find you. That's what one of my biggest pet peeves is, like when you pick up a book and it's like, oh, like I want to reach out to this guy and see what we can do on making another issue or what have you. No contact information, so it doesn't do me any fucking good. Um, so yeah, I think that's where we're probably gonna wrap it up. So until next time, next Thursday, we're gonna go ahead and send another one, and the website will be updated by that point, and hopefully I'll have more information on the Kickstarter and where that's at. So hope everybody has a good rest of your week and a good weekend. Thanks for hanging out and talking EDP. Peace, everyone.